Welcome to the Saturation Podcast, where we have discussions with church leaders about the life of faith and the mission of the church. My name is Levi Pancake. I get teased a lot for that name and mocked, and it is my burden to bear. But nonetheless, I'm a pastor in Syracuse, New York, and I am here with my dear friend, Jordan Stinziano. And today, we are going to talk about the importance of leadership development. Jordan, this was something that you wanted or requested that we talk about. You thought that this topic is neglected, underemphasized, and something that could be helpful to many of our partners within the Global Fellowship or Saturation Church planting family. So why don't you start by explaining why you think this is an important topic to discuss and why you're particularly burdened with it, and then we can go from there.
First, are you okay with your name?
I just realized we're in like the 30s or 40s now, and I haven't talked much about maybe the elephant in the room, which
Has it happened recently?
Yeah, I mean, it happens every time I travel, every day. I mean, I think my colleagues like you get accustomed to it.
Yeah, I was going to say,
just kind of like,
I thought you were going to say
just
that.
like the name
make
John
fun of
Smith.
it.
It's at this point, Levi Pancake is nothing, but it's a lot to take in all at once, I think, for someone for the first time.
Okay.
I mean, your last name's Stinziano, so that doesn't roll off the tongue very well either. But
no, I get the telemarketer who calls and hasn't looked at the last name and says, "Is Mr. Jordan there?" And I say, "No, he's not." And then I hang up.
I do like, speaking of names, I did like your experience when you were in the country of Jordan last year, and they didn't have a category for your first name.
They could not understand why two idiots named their son Jordan at some point. Like, Jordan, why is your name Jordan? And why are you in Jordan?
Yeah, we're recording this in the United States, and it'd be like someone naming their child United States of America.
Yeah. Anyway.
Leadership development.
Leadership development.
Why are you particularly burdened with that? Why do you think that's important to focus on?
There aren't enough leaders. Like we talked in the last episode about people empowerment.
Yeah.
And how whatever God's going to do, he's going to do through all of his people. And so obviously there's an urgency to empowering and equipping everyone in the life of faith and in the mission of the church. And yet, when we think of the task that we have and the need to plant churches or to see expressions, one of the things we talk about all the time is there just aren't enough leaders, not just here in America, but all around the world. And whenever we're talking about starting new things, whether that be a small group or a congregation or a ministry or this or that, is there a leader for that? And it really should be, are there leaders for that, because we believe in interdependency? Are there, for that small group, are there 2 or 3 people that can work together towards that? When we think about a community, if I'm working with somebody around the world and we're looking at their community and they're setting a goal for 5 years and they're thinking about like, okay, well, I'm going to need to plant, 10 or 15 churches. I'm always challenging them. Okay, well, if it's 15 churches, then you're going to need at least 45 leaders, at least 3 leaders, three people. And, they look at, 45 that's a small number. Like 15 churches is a small number for an area that we're working at. Oftentimes it's, in the thousands. And so you can never have enough leaders, people who are willing to lay down their life and serve the purposes of God in the lives of people. And so I think that process too begins early in the life of faith. Like it begins, with someone who just shows any initiative. And so like, it's not so much that you want to make that early believer a leader, but if someone shows any inclination, okay, well, how do we begin right now, investing in you, shaping you, forming you? We're not telling you you're going to be, a pastor or a leader or this or that. What we're saying is we want to invest in you.
Mm-hmm.
So really that's it's investing in the life of faith, but it's also looking ahead to see what God might do in and through that person. And I don't think that's done enough. I think a lot of times we wait for people to come and say, I'd like to be a leader, rather than saying, why don't you come with me? Jesus was a come with me, follow me type of a leader. And I think we need to extend that invitation to more and more people, if that makes sense. We, a few years ago, where we served together, we did an inventory. And our church isn't a huge church, but it's a good size for an American church. And so we did an inventory of people in our congregation who were young and we thought had leadership potential, but weren't currently leading anything or serving in any significant way. And we invited them to be part of a process of development, trying to take initiative out of that, and spent significant time with those people over a long period of time, because leadership development takes time. And so I just think it's something that leaders need to think about. Who am I investing my life in? Who am I giving my job to? Who am I replicating the life of faith, the life of Christ in? So it's discipleship, yes, but it's also more than that, if that makes sense. It's not better than that. It's not greater than that. We're called to disciple people, but it's also who am I giving what I'm responsible for? Who am I giving that to, so that I can continue to do other things that God's calling me to, shaping me for.
Our close friend Dwight, I've heard him say to multiple rooms filled with church leaders, something to the effect of 90% of your time needs to be devoted to leadership development.
Yeah.
Then he qualifies and he says that both formal and informal.
Right.
Now, he's known, as you are, for maybe hyperbole and overstatement, and yet I think there's something to that that exhortation to leaders of that this is one of your primary tasks.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate maybe on that quote that I just gave from him?
Yeah, I think most of it's in the informal.
Yeah, that was my next question is break down the informal versus the formal, though you've already alluded to it.
Yeah, I think that you're always if you're attuned to it, if you're spending time with people, you're always developing leaders. Parenting, you're always developing leaders. In your day-to-day work, you should always be developing leaders. And they don't have to know it, what you're doing, but I'm always looking at people and thinking ahead of for them. I have 3 sons. I've had this conversation with my 3 sons recently, but I, for years, have known how God has wired my 3 sons. It was a television show back when my father was a kid, by the way, My 3 Sons. But nonetheless, and have been investing in my 3 sons accordingly, based upon their gifts, their personalities, and the things that they're interested in doing, and trying to lead them in particular ways. And all of a sudden, recently, I told you one of them quoted something the other day, they're starting to show some interest in this. Now, there's also spiritual formation that needs to go involved in those types of things as well. It's just not enough for them to be interested in things. So I've been trying to develop them as leaders their whole lives. So part of that leadership development thing that you're engaged in as a leader, and that may be part of the informal, is I'm in relationship with people. I'm always looking ahead at who is this person? what gifts might they have? How might God use them? Like, what opportunities could they be available for, or could we avail them into where they could be a blessing to the body, to the world? And rather than waiting for them to one day say, hey, I may be interested in, I'm always thinking ahead. And by the way, I know you're always thinking ahead because I know the psychosis and what goes on in your head. And it's not just about what's your surname. I know how you're wired. We're always thinking about people in ways that's what does God want to do in their life? How do they need to take the next steps in the formation? But also, how might God use this person in their neighborhood, in the city, in the world? And so some of that then becomes formal. Hey, we're going to do a class, or we're going to do a group here, or we're going to do this. But most of it is informal. Come to my house. Let's go to dinner. Let's take this. I'm going to do this thing over here. Why don't you come with me? Most of it's that one.
Yeah. And I so appreciate the exhortation because it requires anticipation, forethought, proactivity, awareness among church leadership to identify leaders and to train them and to empower them. Because there's, at least in typical Western Christian leadership, there are, and you can speak to if it's an issue globally, there are a ton of demands. You've got kind of the obvious things, preaching, sermon prep, prayer, study, yep. Then you've got people in crisis, people in needs, people that you need to meet with in order to help and minister to. Depending on the size of the church, there's organizational responsibilities that go with it. Sometimes there's facility responsibilities that go with it. There are groups to be managed, things to write, emails to answer, you name it. And so all of a sudden, ministry can become something where it's reactionary. You're responding to things with good intent, I think with good motives, but or putting out fire, or just running or managing programs. And so to get ahead of it, remember the vision, and to prioritize people, assess where they are, and then try to encourage them in the things that the Lord might have for them does require some anticipatory forethought and attention that is difficult to do if you're just ordinarily leading.
It does, and yet, yes. And yet, and it could just be the way I'm wired, but when I look at the scripture, first of all, when you were talking through that list, my brain just went, but because again, how
you're
I'm
not
wired
as the ordinary,
No.
ordinary pastor, but these are the things that people have said the challenges to it.
Right. And yet when I look at Jesus with the 12, the 70, again, we don't know all the things they were doing in a day. Or even Paul as he's roaming around with Barnabas or whoever else is, Silas, Timothy, or whoever else running around with him. We don't know the program of that.
Yep.
But I don't think it looks like the program that we have a tendency to build. I think it was a lot more this, not this, but this.
Yeah, no,
and
in a nice studio recording a podcast.
Absolutely.
I know exactly what you mean.
Very sterile.
That's the key and the gateway to leadership development.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think it was just highly and I could be wrong in that. I could be over reading too much into it. Again, I'm not arguing against organizational programming because we have to do aspects of that. But I think we can overcomplicate it. We overcomplicate it.
Yep.
A thing I have a tendency to say over and over overseas when we're talking about the renovation principles is this is not rocket science. Mm-hmm. If I can understand it, it's pretty simple. It feels like leading ministries can become difficult because we overcomplicate it. Mm-hmm. And we overcomplicate it because we gathered 50 last week, and now we want to gather 60. In order to gather 60, we've got to do the next thing to do that, and that becomes complicated. Mm-hmm. And then that becomes complicated, and I got to teach a better thing and I got to do a better thing, and I got to do a better thing because we got to get more and get more and get more. That was never the thing. Mm-hmm. It was really never the thing. It was never the thing for Jesus. It was never the thing for Paul. Did they gather crowds? Absolutely, they gather crowds. But all we have to do is look out in culture and see idiots can gather crowds. Jesus wasn't an idiot. Paul wasn't an idiot. But idiots, just watch YouTube. Idiots can gather crowds. So gathering a crowd isn't the thing. How do you invest in people so that those people pursue Christ? Mm-hmm. How do you cooperate with the Spirit of God in investing in people so that those people follow Jesus? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how many of them. That's okay.
You're not in control of that.
You're in control of that. And so that takes time, and but you need a lot of people to do that.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is invest in people who are then going to want to invest in people.
Yep.
So I want to develop leaders. That makes sense.
It does. So in the context of a local church then, let me pick your brain on how do you identify leaders? Mm-hmm. Then the next question will be how do you train leaders? And then how do you release leaders or empower them? So let's first start with the first one. Any insight on how to identify leaders?
When I was trained years ago, I started this when I was 16. There was an old thing that was FAT, faithful, available, and teachable. So those were the things we were looking for. Those are still the things I'd be looking for. Somebody that's faithful, they're around, mm-hmm. They're available, they're not like, and they're teachable, mm-hmm. right? And they're not looking for a name for themselves. They're servant, and so those are the people that I'm going to start.
It's good.
Investing my life in. Notice I didn't say that they are a golden tongue. If they can teach, great. That's not necessarily what I'm looking for. Your threshold
wasn't a high degree of competencies at the identify phase.
I'm looking for people who love Jesus. They're faithful. They're available. They got time. They see the importance of this. Not this, but the time.
Yep.
And they're teachable. Like they wanna be invested in. Mm-hmm. Those are the people I'm going to start with. And then you're looking for people that when they're with other people, you see like, okay, they're effective at moving the ball down the road. Mm-hmm.
So insight on how to train leaders.
Obviously, there's formal things you can do. Mm-hmm. But I think the best thing is...
Can you give a few examples of formal and then...
Yeah, formal things...
I think that's more intuitive to people, but...
Formal things are you're gathering people together, you're taking them through either some theological things, mm-hmm. Some basic leadership stuff, but mm-hmm. again, I would stick more with the theological stuff. We take all of our leaders through renovation stuff. Yep. Want them to understand the nature and the purpose of the church, want them to understand some basic theological things, want them to understand how to lead people. So some basic leadership principles. And so that can be done in large groups, that can be done in small groups, that can be done in leading groups together, things like that. But I think most of it is best done most of your best work's done informally, as you're just doing things, you're spending time with people, and that informal relational time together.
When I was, for about a decade, had the opportunity to lead a college ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And there, you certainly had a number of young people who were available. They were busy, they felt busy, but as the demands of life increase with age and family and responsibilities at work, they were pretty available. And so what I would try to do is take, as the college pastor, take a college student, one or two with me. If I need to get an oil change in my car, like I know it's not the most exciting thing, but it was 15 minutes to drive there, 30-minute wait time, 15 minutes back. So been just running errands, like just bringing someone relationally with me.
Absolutely.
It was my wife and I in this season, not in college ministry, but try to have a regular rhythm of identified people in the church that we have over to our home or try to connect dinner with. I've got a list of people that I'm pretty intentional with grabbing lunch with. So people in their 30s and 40s, they don't have the margin to take them to go with you while you get an oil change, but just trying to bring some intentionality there. Mm-hmm. And I do think a lot of the informal training can happen in just the ordinary biblical community. In our case, we call them missional communities formation groups. Mm-hmm. They're not everything, but they're pretty simple when it comes to Word of God, people of God, Spirit of God. It's a group of people opening up the Scriptures together and exhorting them in the life of faith mission of the church. In a group of 10, and a group of 3 or 4. Yeah. And over time, you're able to see and get that relational time and then maybe have some other opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, as far as the, additionally, the how, I think you're leading alongside of people. And, for me, I love giving my job away. Love. It makes it sound like I don't like to work. That's not what I mean. But love doing something with someone and then being like, look, you got this. Mm-hmm. I'll go figure something else out. Mm-hmm. Because nothing, everything, I used to work with a guy who used to say everything rises and falls on leadership. Maybe. But nothing rises and falls on me. Right? I want good leadership, but I'm not critical to whatever is needing to happen, right? So we need somebody to do this. I keep hitting this microphone, I'm sorry. We need somebody to do this. Podcasts weren't meant for Italians who do everything with our hands.
Who gesticulate.
Oh, yeah.
Well, every time you hit it, if you say that you hit it, it
sure,
it makes
absolutely.
it more,
of course,
less obvious, so say that.
Absolutely. But anyway, the notion that everything rises and falls on, it doesn't fall on me. So I can hand that off to somebody else and empower them to raise them up, give that away. And I'll go figure something else out to do. You can go figure something else out to do. I'm not defined by the task that I do. And so by raising somebody else and empowering them, giving them that opportunity, it sets them up. And then they know how to do that because they've walked through and hopefully they know how to do it.
Yeah, the saying goes, it's watch me while I do it, then we do it together, then I watch you, give you some coaching, and then you let them do it.
Yeah.
Maybe that answers this last practical question, but how do you release leaders into it?
I think you give them an opportunity. You recognize that they're going to do it differently. People sometimes will be like, yeah, but we like, and it's like, it's not about what people like. It's about what, always, it's about does this empower people? Does this get the job done? We're empowering leaders as we're doing this. And then this now gives us more opportunity to empower more and more leaders because now we got this person doing this, and this frees up somebody else to do this other thing. So the more people we release, the more opportunities now you, me, other people have to go do other things. So you give them an opportunity, and they're going to stumble. They're not going to do it as well. Oh, it's okay. So you give them some feedback. You give them another opportunity, another opportunity, another opportunity, and you let them run.
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought it was better to, like if I have a group or I have a thing, and you could say, okay, well, if you and I are doing it together, I could say, well, now you go start your own, or I can hand you the one that I've already started.
Yeah.
That's healthy and whatever, and I can go start another one.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on that person, but so that's generally what I would do. Is hand that off. I can go start something else.
Yep.
But bring them into that, give them the opportunities, protect them as they do it, protect the people as they do it as well, and give them the opportunity to soar.
Yeah. I think at that point, without doing the work, but being a covering for them, as people learn, you don't want them to learn too much at the expense of people.
Absolutely. We talk
But
about
at
that
the
all
same time, people have to learn. And
you want to insulate people from their growing pains.
yeah, we have
To the best of your power.
we have a hospital that has a lot of medical students in our city, and anytime you go there, even if it's outpatient surgery or something, usually there's medical students with them. Can the medical student observe? Would you be okay if the medical student does this? And depending on the severity of the problem, you're like, you feel a little bad, but you're like, no, I don't want that. But they have to learn somehow. That's kind of the tension with this. And yet, if we're not thinking ahead and training up others beside us and behind us, the vision, the mission, the church, it's in a precarious spot.
Yeah, we've got a younger guy on our staff who I think is the best communicator we have. Potential to be the best preacher we have. And he's neither of us.
Yep.
Right? And we know that because he's had plenty of opportunities. Right? And he does a great job.
Yep.
But you know that because we've given him. And rather than be like, go start your own thing. We've got a couple of them. So you give guys opportunities and they can run.
Yeah, and I think you've modeled really well as we've attempted to raise up other people. You stepping aside, then you stepping in the shadows, you elevating that person publicly. You've done that with me and with several others. And that's also, I think, a hard thing for leaders at times. If someone's better at it, that's hard. But even if they're not as competent in you, that's hard. Equally as competent, it's still hard. And yet it's a necessary thing. Any other concluding thoughts on leadership development you want to say?
No, I just would encourage people to follow Jesus in that. Follow Jesus, follow Paul, and give their life away.
Amen. Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Saturation Podcast, where we have discussions with church leaders about the life of faith and mission of the church. This podcast is produced by Saturation Church Planning. Saturation Church Planning exists to glorify God through partnering with church leaders in nations, regions, cities throughout the world towards the full evangelization of those places through the mobilization of the church. For more information, please visit scpglobal.org.